Okay, we are currently recording, and rules and regulations state that I need to let everyone know that we're recording. So, folks, welcome to State of the Grizz, Season 2, Episode 2. We are very excited to have folks back into the space with us. This has been a wonderful journey that started back in March when the pandemic first arose in New York City, and resulted in the need to create a venue for us to bring information to the community. And so we are really, really excited to have a platform that allows us to leverage the communication that VP Pryor spoke about earlier to the people.
Right.
State of the Grizz is for the people more than anything. And so myself, Nestor Melendez, as your director of student leadership and campus life, make up one half of the partnership, or actually 1/3, really, because I'm 1/3, the VP is 1/3, and then the community is the other third, which makes a fabulous whole. And since we're talking about him right now, let us introduce my wonderful co-host, Vice President for Student Engagement, Charles Pryor. VP, how are you today?
I'm doing well, Nestor. Thank you, for such a wonderful introduction and intro to the show. And again, my apologies to everyone as we got this show started off a little bit later than we would have liked, but we hope that your time here you will feel was valuable, and that you were able to get something that will be helpful towards your government experience. As Nestor said, this space is for the community. We want folks to participate, raise your hand, talk in the chat, ask questions, whatever it is that you need and are looking for answers to. Please know that we will do our best in this space and or afterwards to get that to you, because the State of the Grizz is about the Gutman community, and we just happen to be the people that are kind of shepherding the conversation. Before we begin, I just want to stay within our own kind of habits and practices, and thank those that have been on the front lines during the pandemic from the beginning. We're talking about our healthcare workers, our frontline folks, our folks that have, I'm going to say held down Gutman, the folks in public safety and the facilities, in the building team, and just really want to and thank you all for being safe and doing all that you need to do so that you could be here with us today. So Nestor, it's like you said, season 2, show number 2. We're in the middle of summer bridge. So I know that there are students, faculty, and staff that are kind of on, high alert, trying to make sure that we have and are engaged in doing everything that we need to do. We want to create space here for a conversation about some of the positive relationships that you're going to start to build through Bridge, whether it's through relationships with your advisor, your faculty, other staff at the institution. We want to really give that some shape here so that folks understand some of the hallmarks of a Gutman experience. And one of those is engagement. And we're going to, I think, talk about what that means. But before we really talk about engagement, which is a second level thing, we're going to talk about relationship building and network building. And people always talk about who's in your circle. And all the folks in the Gutman community are in your circle. And one of the folks that's in our circle that's going to share some information with us and I think really get us off on a positive start about how academics and teachers are different at the college level. We're talking about faculty, is our Dean of Faculty, Dr. Nicola Blake, who has been with the college for a number of years. I won't go into her full bio, as I want to allow her space to talk about all the work that she's done. But I think it's important, this conversation today, because Dean Blake can talk to you about pretty much all the facets of the academic experience, her having experience at Gutman in our classroom, in Bridge, and the administrative side, and just as an all-around leader on our campus. So Dean Blake, thank you so much for coming in today, and really do appreciate you taking the time to talk with the community and share the space with Nestor and I.
So thank you, VP Pryor, and thank you, Nestor, for all the work that you've done to create this space. It's really a positive space. I'm really happy to see so many of the community members here. Hi, Jahari. Hi, Caesar. Hi, Rebecca, Angel, Fabi, Estefani. I think I caught most of the students. Hi, welcome. It's great to see so many of you today. As VP Pryor said, I'm the Dean of Faculty and Academic Affairs. I'm responsible for supporting faculty in all areas of faculty affairs, such as recruiting and hiring talented faculty, which I'm really proud of in terms of who we have on campus working with us. I'm also in charge of items such as scheduling your courses and other types of academic processes that helps you to graduate on time. So as VP Pryor said, I've been at Gutman close to 10 years before we opened, and I'm one of the founding faculty members, and we built this college just for you. All of this work that all of us have done and all of us are doing currently, we did this whole thing, built this whole machine just for you. So I've taught special topics, arts in the city, composition, EOW, I think capstone, internship, and I taught in Bridge in the early years. And I've also taught at City College and at Rutgers University. All in all, I've been in CUNY for 22 years, and I'm also a proud Bronxite. I live in the Bronx, and a proud mom of a 12-year-old who refuses to have a virtual party. His birthday's in 2 weeks, and he's like, I'm not doing that next year. And I have a 15-year-old who's going into 10th grade and who likes high school more than middle school. And I guess, you know, she'll have to explain that to us at some point. I think I liked middle school better than high school, and college better than high school, and grad school better than, you know, undergrad. So it's easy to say I love CUNY. I really love Gutman. And I'm just really proud and happy that you guys have chosen our college and have chosen to spend time with us. I also know it's been a tough week. We lost a great icon. We lost a brother from Black Panther. And we've also watched Mr. Blake topple in Kenosha. And I know that you also have experienced loss this summer and you feel a sense of loss. We're surrounded by this idea that, you know, there's a lot to be anxious about. And I want to acknowledge that and tell you it's okay to, you know, it's okay to feel that. But I also want to tell you that there's a path forward. There's, you know, the fact that you're on here and the fact that you're engaged in finishing your degree or starting your degree if you're a new student, it really shows your commitment to advancing yourself and your community. And I know that VP Pryor is also going, and Nestor is going to talk a little bit at the end of the show about things that we can do to move our work forward, such as voting. So I feel like attending college is one thing and also voting is another thing. And I applaud you for really pushing through this moment of, you know, things that are not so sure, but will become better. And I can assure you that they will become better. So it's still an exciting time to be at Gutman, and we are remote and your faculty is prepared. All faculty at Gutman have taken part in a teaching online certification. They've spent the entire summer really preparing to work with all of you. They've also completed workshops on equity and value in culture. They value your voices, they value your experiences, and they're equipped to help all of you with your different interests and your different skill levels. So please ask them for help. They want to help you. You have a talented group of faculty prepared to teach you. Faculty like Professor G. Kim, who will be teaching chemistry and simulating labs online. Faculty like April Burns, who will teach you research skills that you will use when you go off to your four-year colleges. And faculty like Professor Torres, who's online today with us, who's spent many, many hours creating dynamic videos on her mathematical topics and statistics, teaching concepts using her YouTube channel. And I could list many, many more. I think I want to ask Professor Maggie Dickinson to introduce herself a little bit and tell us about some of the things that she's seen that faculty will be doing with most of you online this semester. Maggie?
Thanks, Dean Blake. And hi, everybody. It's really great to be with you today. It's lovely to see students' faces. It's been a summer of training faculty, so I haven't seen students in a while, and it's really wonderful to see you all. So we have been preparing, I'm a professor at Gutman. I teach anthropology, I teach in the FYE, I teach critical issues, and the other thing that I do is help faculty in the past adapt academic technology into their teaching. So helping faculty do things like multimedia projects. As you may be able to guess, that work has really ramped up since March. And so what we've been doing is making sure that your faculty are prepared to teach in the way that you have come to expect and the reason, for the reasons you came to Gutman. The things that we value, as those of you who have been at Gutman for a while, are things like experiential learning. We love to get you out the door. We love to get you doing things. We love to get you doing research. Adapting that to this new environment is something we've been working really, really hard on all summer. Some of the kinds of things that I'm seeing faculty, as their creative juices kind of got going over the summer, are things like using digital archives, right? So that you can still do that research. City archives for history courses, museum archives. Also, I've seen a lot of creativity around taking advantage of the medium that we're in, right? Thinking about things like developing video essays where you're able to use some of your, visual talents in addition to your research and your writing talents and your reflections in your thinking on the text that you're reading. We have faculty who over the summer had students participating in large-scale projects. There's a pandemic journaling project that Christina Baines had her students doing. That is an archive, a collection of people's experiences so that, we're not just living through this moment, but we're contributing to it as scholars, and you are contributing to it as scholars. So there's a lot of creative things that faculty are doing, and then the other things that we all have been thinking about are ways to make sure that you still are able to connect with each other, because we know how important that is for you as students, to have one another, to support one another in regular times and in really challenging times like this. Making sure that there's space for you to do that, making sure that there's the support that you need. So that's a lot of the stuff that we've been working on. I just, I'm excited to see the semester unfold. I know this is not how any of us really wanted it to be, and we're all dying to get you back in the classroom, but we've really been thinking and working on how to make this the kind of experience that you've come to expect at Gutman. And I think we're prepared to do that.
So thank you, Maggie, for letting us know what's going to be happening in the classroom. And we wanted to share some of those things to dispel the idea that, we're losing something when we're online. Yes, we're losing something, but we're gaining lots of other things. The opportunity to learn how to use technology. I mean, I had to learn Zoom. I'm still learning it. I've just figured out how to get everyone, on the screen. And yesterday I learned how to share a file because one of the professors helped me, and how to share my screen and share files. So I'm still learning along with you, and we're going to come out of this pandemic knowing more skills than when we entered in. And these are things that you'll be able to use in your workforces and also in your undergrad, in your bachelor's degree and beyond. So one of the things that VP Pryor and Nestor talked about earlier is, how do we engage in this environment? How do we work with faculty? How do we foster bonds? Because I think ultimately what we're trying to do is foster bonds in a remote environment. We can't pop into office hours or go down the hall, or you won't see your faculty members in the info commons, but you'll be in their Blackboard shells, and they still are connected to you in Starfish, and many of them will have live synchronous hours with you, workshops. Pretty soon in CUNY First, you're gonna see in the notes when your faculty members will have office hours with you live, and also when they'll have synchronous workshops. So I know that a few of the math classes are going to have synchronous workshops, optional workshops, where if you have time, you can pop in and talk to someone live. And I feel like that's really important. So in terms of fostering bonds, I can sit here and tell you about my own story in terms of the many, many faculty members who I popped into their office. You will be popping into their Blackboard shell or talking to them in their Blackboard shell or scheduling time to talk with them. And one of the persons who influenced me the most was a professor called, his name was James Watts, and he taught history. I don't like history. It's okay if you guys like history. And I was in a class with about 150 students. It was a lecture hall at City College because we had lecture halls. My biology class was almost 400 deep, which we have the benefit of not having at Gutman, actually. I'm so glad we have smaller class sizes. So I would walk into Professor James Watts' office maybe twice a week. I was in this big lecture hall. I was trying to get an A in the class. I was always popping by his office. And I remember he always had Asiago cheese. I don't know if you know this cheese. It's really, it smells like socks, dirty socks. And what do you call this? Black coffee. And, you know, I'm 18. I like cream and sugar in my coffee, lots of sugar. He never had sugar packets and he never had cream. I never got it, but he had Asiago cheese. So he would sit there and we would sit and eat Asiago cheese and drink coffee and black coffee. And I hated it, but I sat there and I learned so much. So when it was time for me to go off to grad school, he was the one who wrote me letters. When it was time for me to get a job, he helped me to get a job, 2 jobs actually. You know, he prepped me for my interview and he really took an interest in me, even though I was in a class of 150 students. And, you know, I found a way to connect to him. When I applied to Princeton University and they declined my application, they said, nope, we don't want you, can't come. Rutgers was, yes, we love you, come on. And, you know, and a few other schools. He took up his phone and called the dean over there and said, I don't know what's wrong with you people, but something's wrong with your admission system. It's broken. And I thought, you know, it's not really, nothing's wrong with the admission system there. It's not broken. But to find somebody who has popped by just to have coffee and have an Asiago cheese with, he felt like he was my champion. And I have many, many professors like that, like Liz Mazzola. I went off and did medieval literature because Liz Mazzola was a Renaissance scholar and I pretty much lived in her office and she took an interest in me. So you also have faculty on campus who are like that. And you know, I can't name all of them. I mean, pretty much all of them have created bonds with students, but you have to take the time to talk with them and talk about your interests and talk about your fears, ask them for guidance. They got their bachelor's, they got their master's, many of them have their PhD, so they understand how the system works. And, you know, you want to connect with your faculty and the faculty want to connect with you. So faculty like Marcus Allen, Mary Gata, Sam Feinsbury, Christina Baines, Lori Angama, Chulsung Kim, they all teach, but they also do research with their students. And I feel like that's pretty impressive that as a student, if you work with some of these faculty members, you get to go off to give conference papers, but you also publish, you get to be part of neat research. Professors like Cassandra Barnes, Dan Collins, Tara Ball, Dalvin Hill, Keno Brown, Marla Soul, Forrest Fisher, mentor students as they think about their next steps. And like I said, I named these faculty members, but I could go on and pretty much just give you a roll call of all of the faculty because we've spent a lot of time recruiting faculty. You know, it's a special type of faculty that chooses to work at Gutman because the college itself is so focused on teaching and it's so focused on your success. And we spend a lot of time trying to get the right faculty and providing professional development for them to work even further on their own teaching. So faculty at Gutman work at Gutman because they essentially believe in you and they believe in teaching and they believe in your future. So in terms of strategies, connect. In terms of online office hours, if you have online office hours, connect. Even if you feel like you don't want to turn on your camera. I'm notorious for not turning on my camera. Today I turned on my camera. I even, you know, tried to get my hair straight a little bit today. You know, but turn on your camera. If when you get comfortable, turn on your camera or shoot them an email and say, I really have something to say. I'm going to work on turning on your camera. And you also have to understand, and we understand that not everyone has the backdrop or a space in their, you know, home where they can have the cameras on because there's a lot of stuff going on in your home. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. We understand that completely, but just send us an email or just be present or write in the chat like Nestor said earlier. Send emails or messages and ask questions. Ask questions, ask questions, ask questions, and ask questions. And the faculty are here to respond to those questions, and they will respond to your questions. If there are opportunities to do extra credit, do it, engage in it. If you have plans for a bachelor's degree, or you have an interest in a career, or if you have a question about a major, or something about another school or your bachelor's degree, or something that you're working on now in another course, but you know that the faculty member has some expertise in that area, ask them, write to them and say, you know, I have this interest and I'd love to talk to you for a little bit. You know, give them time to respond and give them time to set up a time to talk with you. But they're really here to, you know, support those dreams that you have. If there are research opportunities such as CRISP, run by Professor Kim, or the oral history project that Sam Feinsbury is running, also try to engage in those things. So those are things that you could put on your resume. Those are things that you can talk about on a job interview. Those are things that will just shift your thinking and give you access to other scholars and other thinkers just beyond Gutman. Almost all the faculty have a bio or a profile online, and many of the faculty members also have a little expertise list under their names. So you'll see like Marcus Allen expertise in political science, or Camilla Torres expertise in mathematics. So you can look at the expertise, you can play around and look at the bios, see if it's someone you're interested in talking to and getting to know. So my advice to you, we're such a small college that yes, the priority is to talk to the faculty members who are teaching you that semester. So whoever is teaching you in the fall, talk to them. But essentially, we're such a small community that if you have an interest, you should be able to talk to any faculty member of our faculty body. So do reach out to them. So there's value in networking, and your Gutman community is your core network. And I'm hoping that you'll have a positive experience and you'll use it. And you can also just write to me anytime. So if you have questions for me, you can also just write to me and say, hey, you know, I know you don't have any Asiago cheese, you know, that we can share remotely, but, you know, I'd love to talk to you more about your own journey, especially since I am a CUNY grad also. And I went off and did a PhD for free, thanks to my faculty members who told me there are free PhDs out there. And I listened to them. So we're really here as a resource for you. We want you to succeed. Don't give up. And, you know, the best is yet to come, and it's going to be a great semester. Everything is mindset. You know, let's push through this together. Thank you, guys.
Dean Blake, thank you so much for that wonderful information. And thank you, Professor Dickinson, for sharing. You know, the one thing that, you know, really, I think struck home for me was when you were talking about building relationships with faculty, and the fact that the faculty member with the cheese was the person that connected, you know, and wrote reference letters for you. And really, I'm going to say, was your advocate in the rooms that maybe you didn't necessarily have access to, you know. So I don't know, are you still in contact with that professor? And, you know, now that you're a professor and you know, defended your dissertation and you know, and are a dean of faculty, how has that relationship evolved, and how do you reach out and make those same connections?
So in terms of that particular professor, he actually met my dad, who's like my hero, who else, my dad died. Might choke up a little bit. And I have a picture of both of them. They're both important to me, but they both ultimately died. And my professor actually became the dean of the school, hence why I got those two jobs, because I was in his history class, and by the next year he became the dean, and then I started working in the dean's office. And I went off to grad school, and he knew, and he died just before I finished, and both of them died before I finished. So I wanted to become a dean and provost and future president eventually because of people like him, because of the fact that he would pick up the phone and he helped students, not just me. So unfortunately, I don't have that relationship with him, but I do have a relationship with Liz Mazzola, who's the Renaissance scholar who I talked about. Because I went to Rutgers and she encouraged me to go to Rutgers and also wrote letters. she actually still sends students to me from City College to say, hey, talk to her and see what her experience was like at Rutgers. Especially because I'm a woman of color, you have to be careful with which PhD program you go to, because some people are not invested in you finishing. And Rutgers is actually one of the schools that multiple minority scholars have been able to be fully supported by. It's a school that I really advocate for. So she sent students to me, and I've talked to students from City College, and they've gone off to Rutgers and they've gotten their PhDs. So I still maintain relationships with him. If you remember Professor Kaku, who's the astronomer on TV, he's at City College. He's a superstar, and he has all those commercials. He was also one of my professors in a 300 and 400 room deep, but he wrote me letters for grad school also, because I also went to his office hours. I lived in people's offices, as you can see, because I had to. There were one or two I just wasn't connected to, but I could also work around them, because I could say, well, oh, I'm in Professor Zech's class. What are some strategies? Because I'm not really sure I want to talk to this professor for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. So you can also, ask other professors and other faculty members for strategies. But for the most part, when you meet that one or two professor, they're going to become these people who are they're invested in you lifelong. There's a picture up here someplace that Professor Mazzola gave me when I went off to grad school. And she's still teaching at City College. I see Professor Batiste on the call, and he knows Professor Mazzola. She's awesome, but you can really connect with your faculty that way.
Yeah, Dean Blake, first let me say I'm sorry for those losses, and thank you for sharing and really talking about how those relationships and the inspiration that those two individuals gave and participated in and how they contributed to some of the things that you're doing today, and again, how those relationships evolve. So thank you so much. Anything else you want to share with our students about their academic pursuits or the foundation for lifelong learning that they're hopefully continuing to build at Gutman?
Never stop trying. Never stop trying. I mean, I hit it out the ballpark with many of my courses. Some of my students, when I teach at Gutman, they hit it out the ballpark, and there are students who don't hit it out the ballpark, who, take the course over, or they do an extra credit, or they sit with me, and then they move on to their next course. You don't have to get it right the first time. And, even my 15-year-old, she had geometry all summer. She wanted to skip to the next math. She missed it by 8 points. And I told her, well, good, because in the fall, you'll be more prepared than everybody else in your class in the fall, because you spent the whole summer learning geometry. So it's just push through it, keep asking questions, and go to the tutoring centers, go to the mentors, go to, Crystal Vasquez and her team. They have a great team there helping students. Seek out the support systems that are on campus. There's nothing wrong with asking for help. Even if I write an email now, I shoot it to faculty members or people who are in my circle and say, hey, does this sound good? Does it look right? Can you check it for me? I still do that. I write nothing for the most part if I'm going to send it out without asking someone to check. I'm published, still have to ask someone to check that stuff, because sometimes I can't see everything. Sometimes I get demotivated. So I actually have a notebook. Nestor knows, because we had to do something and I was writing in my notebook. And I have the memo in my phone. It's just not the same for me, but my daughter uses the memo in the phone. But I keep a notebook. And sometimes I make a list. What do you really, really, really want to accomplish today? And I'll put 2 things or 1 thing. And then I'll get worked up and I'll put 10 things, and I'll feel bad that I didn't get to the 10 things. So what I started to do since the pandemic is I try to say, what is the ultimate thing that I have to finish today? This one thing. And I try to do it. And if I miss a day or 2, I don't beat myself up anymore. I say, you know what? I will get to that tomorrow. I have done a good job today. And I try to self-talk myself, because it's easy to lay on the couch and feel like, oh my God, I didn't do this thing. And then the news is saying all this stuff, and you're frightened and you're unsure. Even when you get excited about certain things, it's like a tug of war. And even though I'm fairly accomplished, I still have to self-talk myself. I am good. Today is going to be good. I'm going to get something accomplished today. I'll read something for myself today. You know what? I'm going to watch Law and Order for an hour today and just watch and lay there because I actually like Law and Order, even though it makes me a little nuts because it's so dramatic sometimes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But it's really just the self-talk and the affirmations that you need. And also, I'm a firm believer in making a list, just a firm believer in making a list. and following that list, but don't go off the cliff if you feel like you did not follow, if you didn't complete the list for the day. You're not gonna be 100% every day, and that's fine. And you're still gonna be exceptional. I mean, my brother, when he came to America, he delivered newspaper in Florida, and then he became a great director in American Express, a company that, is not diverse, and he did really, really well. And, I tell my students that story at Gutman all the time, because, you can still accomplish many, many, many things, and the journey will look different for everybody. And it's okay to not be okay, but it's, it's necessary to push through those moments when you're not okay. And if you can't sum it up to do it for yourself, make sure you have one or two people in your circle that you can say, I'm having a little crappy day today. Can you what should I do, or boost me up? If you have those two people who are also negative, then you have a problem, because then you're not gonna be boosted up. Two people are not boosting you up, and you're maybe afraid to tell your professor, what, can I just talk to you for a minute? Here's what I'm feeling. You can do that, or you can do that with your advisors or the other support systems on campus. And even when you leave Gutman, it might be a little bit harder to do that in a four-year college, because it's a different environment. Mm-hmm. But you will still do, as VP Pryor said before, you'll find a way to connect to that one professor or that one advisor, or that one secretary or that one administrator who you can say, oh my, I really need some help today. And that's okay. And then now on this call, you have me, you have VP Pryor, Nestor, I see Dean Zimke, I see Dean Levita. Here, Chris Roth is on here, his camera is not on. There are people here who you can come and say, here's what I need. Can you help me work through this? Just think about it in terms of strategies, and, be kind to your own self and be kind to the things that you're also feeling, but do the work. You still got to click the buttons, and you still got to submit. And, time's going to pass, and then we're going to have our little caps and gowns, and I'm going to be screaming saying, yay, graduates.
Absolutely. The reference to graduation is an important one, because it's future casting. My happiest days as the dean and vice president now are orientation, because students are really taking their first step, and graduation, because the continuation of that journey that you're talking about pushing through, because inevitably, whether you are the most academically talented student, or you're a student like me who had things that you were very good at, and there's some things that you really had to struggle with and work through. Each time I walked across a stage, I felt like I had accomplished something, but I was headed on to a new journey. You know what I mean? But to your point, I was able to point to and to think about all the folks that helped me to put those things in order so that I can keep pushing through. So again, Dean Blake, thank you so much for sharing your story, sharing a little bit about your support system and your network, but more importantly, helping, I think, our students understand the things that are possible when you expand your network. And that's really what I think is important. And the thing that I take away most from what you talked about is connection and relationship building. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
No problem. Ness, the one thing that outside of all of the positives about building relationships with faculty and staff that Dean Blake talked about, are the things that are going on in the world around us, and some of the things that make it, I'm going to say, difficult to show up on a day in and day out basis, the things that keep us, or at least for me personally, enraged. And those that used to watch State of the Grizz way back in April when we first started this thing, know that I get up every morning and I exercise, not in so much so that I could, get ready for summer, because summer is past. Maybe summer 2021 is my year, but more so that I can just process all of the things that I wake up with on my mind. And those are the things and the images that I see on a day in and day out basis. they really do cloud and bring down my energy at times. But I know I have to show up in this medium and in others, not so much so that I could do my job, but so that I can be supportive of faculty, staff, and students within the government community so that we can all continue to move forward together. I know we have some information that we want to share about one of the most fundamental ways to get engaged in this democracy and make some changes. So I'm not sure if you have those files so we can kind of talk through a little bit about not only voter registration, but I'm going to say voter information, because the one thing that I think is extremely important is not just understanding the system, but understanding the roles that people play in those systems, those that represent us on a local level, on a citywide level, on a statewide level, and then of course, on a regional and national level. And understanding who those people put into positions, and then how we can hold those folks accountable through elections, obviously through voting, but also through petitions and other energies. So Nestor, do you have any of those collateral pieces that we can share with folks today and just kind of further the discussion and talk about how people can get registered through CUNY First?
I think I'm gonna bless the people with some pieces of information relative to what we just said. Just before I jump into that, I just want to draw a quick through line to all of the content that we just delivered to the students, because I want to make sure that they get the good juice of what was just said. And what it is an understanding that the people in this call that work for government, that work for CUNY, that we understand that there's a responsibility that we have to our students to support them, to engage them, to teach them, to challenge them, to move them forward. But that's one half of the equation, right? And I know there's a lot of math professors in here, and if my math is wrong, please forgive me. But the other half of the equation centers on what Dean Blake said, is that you got to show up and do the work. No one is going to do it for you. So half of the doing the work is the assignments, the papers, the going to the meetings, the turning in the tests and all that kind of stuff, and showing up in the discussions. But the other piece of that is also making relationships with people who may seem like folks that you might be afraid to make a relationship with. This is an adult person, you know, and I know for myself, I thought that teachers lived in the closet in the back of the classroom when I went home at 3 o'clock. And then I saw one of my teachers in the grocery store, and I was surprised. Your professors are living, breathing human beings who exist in the same world that you do, who have many of the same concerns, issues that you do as students, currently. We've grown up in difficult times. We've experienced adversity. We've experienced global crises, and we found a way to be successful. And we're taking all of that knowledge and we're now presenting it to the students in a way that we hope you engage us. Right? We're going to be there for you. We're going to teach the classes, but we want you to show up and ask us questions. Come to the virtual office hours because we can't do it on campus right now. And that sucks, because it's really great to have that in-person energy. And we're going to do our best to bring you that same kind of energy through these mediums like this, through our Zoom chats, our Blackboard, our Teams, WebEx, whatever other application you may find, FaceTime, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. But we need you to show up, be engaged. And to the Vice President's point, be engaged not only as a student, but as a citizen of this planet, right, as a civil participant in this democracy. We need you to vote. We want you to vote. And we're not just saying that because it's the flavor of the week. We're not just saying that because we have a particular political agenda. But really, when you think about it, if we can leverage the power of CUNY students to exercise their right to vote, to exercise their ability to influence politics so that there is more money for financial aid, so that there's more money for programs in our neighborhoods and in our boroughs, so that there is more resources given to us as a people, then we're going to be able to take advantage of this thing called education and really make some things happen for our lives, but more importantly, for the lives of the people that are coming after us. And that's your younger brothers and sisters, your younger cousins, in some cases, your children. But also for those of us that don't have that voice, the undocumented, the immigrant families who are here hoping for a chance to be able to break even. So I'm going to share some images on the screen. Let me just call them up. And we want to give a quick shout out to the Office of Accessibility Services and the Alumni Alliance and the Student Government Association for their help in creating these ad campaigns. And so what you should be seeing right now on your screen is the National Voter Registration poster. This one lets you know that you go to CUNY first, you log in, and in the upper left-hand corner, you're gonna see something that says CUNY Votes. You click on that and you fill out the form. Most of the form is already pre-filled because it's accessing some of your information from the CUNY servers. Then you click send and it goes off into the world, and that gives you the power to go ahead and influence and affect change in New York, across the United States, and hopefully for our students globally, which is really what we want to do, is we want to try to create the mentality that what you're doing is impacting the world. First you start at Gutman, then you do New York City, then you do New York State, and then you take over the world. It's like a Pinky in the Brain kind of thing. And if you don't remember Pinky in the Brain, YouTube has a lot of videos that you can see it, but it's awesome. So this is, you're gonna be seeing these ads show up on your Gutman web pages and your Gutman emails. You're also gonna see jobs. Right now, we need poll workers. And so you can get paid to help do this. And how do you apply? Well, real simple. You go to elections.newyork.gov, and there's going to be information there on how to be a poll worker. And these are the folks that sit in the voting places and check IDs and make sure that people have the right paperwork and are going to the right places.
Right.
They're also putting out information about the elections and helping to make sure that the folks going to the polls are able to do what they went to do. If you're wondering, why should I vote? Why? Here's why. This is why. Because it keeps a democratic country functioning, and contrary to popular opinion, we do live in a democratic society. Pay no attention to what the man with the orange skin is telling you. There is a document that allows us to live in a place where we can choose the kind of life that we want. But you got to show up. And I forget what the actual number is. A VP, do you know the number of total CUNY students, like system-wide?
You know, the last estimate that I received was just over 250,000 students, registered degree-seeking students across the City University of New York system. $250,000.
That sounds like a powerful number to me. It sounds like if those students showed up and used their voice and leveraged their power, we could make some changes and see some folks like, oh, I don't know, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who's a dynamic powerhouse, right? Ilhan Omar, another woman who's out there just blowing boundaries up and just really doing some amazing thing for the people. And here's the thing. Showing up will inevitably result in the power structure shifting and hopefully towards the balance of the underserved, the marginalized, and the people who have long been ignored. And that's where you, the CUNY student, comes in. The last thing I'm going to show you is it's a very simple statement. One decision can change the future. If you make the decision right now after this to go out and fill your CUNY registration form, right? You log in, you click the link, you fill it out, you confirm and swear, and you send it in, boom, magic. You are now a registered voter. And for the rest of your life, you're able to do that. And here's a public service message. For those of us in our community who do not have the ability to do this, we see you. We understand that you're there. This is where you appeal to your peers, to your classmates, and you say, I really need you to exercise this power on my behalf. I need you to be the voice that I do not have. So that one day, hopefully, I too can have the voice and a say in what happens to me and my family in this country. It's a terrible and great responsibility, but one ultimately that we think our students, our Grizzlies, will form up and do this thing. And so that's our public service announcement for voting. I'm sorry to have taken up so much of your time, but I really feel like, man, if there was any indicators telling you that you need to get out there and do something with this power that you have been given, this is the time to do it. And hopefully, as my colleague, Professor Rodrigo said at the beginning, the change that we're looking for will come
right
all the way at the top.
Absolutely. I think, registering to vote, being engaged in this process is the tip of the iceberg. You know what I mean? You have to be informed. You have to know, who your representatives are on the city council, who your state assembly person is, who your U.S. congressperson is, who your senators, and more importantly, what are the things that they are putting their support behind, and figure out if they match what you want. Like, there's an accountability part of this that as voters, your power is in holding those folks accountable. Because one of the things that we are always seeing online is, campaign slogans, promises, so the last local election, did the mayoral candidate that you voted for hold to the things that they promised? What about the congressperson that you voted for? What about the city council person that you voted for? What about the assembly person that you voted for? And if they have not, you get to change your vote when their seat comes up for election again. That is how you use your voice, but you have to be informed, not one, who they are, two, the things that they put their support behind, and three, if there's been a match or a mismatch, because maybe they promised something and they weren't able to deliver for whatever reason it is, but you get to change your vote. You get to go in another direction, say, you know what, this candidate didn't work out well for us. Because one of the things that the framers of the Constitution, and we'll talk about, who that might have been, the document may have been intended for, maybe wasn't necessarily intended for many of us on the call here today. But one of the things, being a congressperson was not supposed to be a lifelong job. You know what I mean? There are not term limits for many positions in the legislative, arms of our government. But the term limits come each time that they have to come back to you and say, did I do a good job? Yes or no. If I did, vote for me again. And if I didn't, you shouldn't vote for those people anymore. That is how you use your voice. It's not only getting registered and showing up to vote, but it's also holding those people accountable for representing your interest. How well they have funded schools, roads, social service programs, all of the things in your community and neighborhood that are important to you, and how well they have shown up as representatives for you. I can't tell you how many times, you look at a city budget and people go, well, why did we support that? Why did we put money and energy behind that? And then you see that your congressperson, your assembly person supported it. Yet it's not in the best interest of those in your community. That is then a person that you need to, you have the ability to write a letter to. You have the ability to call that person's office And more importantly, you have the power to say, you know what? I'm no longer voting for that person. I'm going to go in a different direction because they're not representing my interests. And that is really how you use your voice, because those folks are supposed to be not just leaders, but representatives. So they are literally, by definition, supposed to represent the interests of the individuals that they represent. So they're not supposed to get there and then be of one of their own mind. They're supposed to get there and do things that are supportive of you and your community members. So, you know, Ness, you know, I don't think we took up too much time. We could actually talk about this for another hour if you ask me.
We could. And the passion is palpable. And I think the reason for that is because we understand the current climate that we're under. You know, but what's interesting to me is while we're having this conversation, VP Pryor, is I'm watching the students make connections with each other in the chat, which is awesome. And so as they make connections with each other, my hope is that the students are going to make this thing cool. So for those of you that are in the chat today, and it's all first year students, and to Professor Rodrigo's point, 50% of the audience is new students. So yay, you did something good. Congratulations. If I was on campus with y'all, I'd be giving you swag. Right now, I'm not on campus. I can't give you swag, but I will give you swag when we get back to campus. I made that promise, and it's recorded in posterity, so you can hold me to it.
Absolutely. You got 30 witnesses, and I'm one of them.
My hope is that the students will walk out of here today and say, you know what? I added these people on the Snap, on the Insta, on the TikTok, you know, if we still have TikTok, I don't know. And like, let me tell people to vote after I go ahead and register myself to vote. And if we could get this thing trending, it can become a thing, because the partnership that we have with accessibility services, with the Student Government Association, with various members of the faculty and the Office of Student Engagement and Student Leadership in Campus Life and the Alumni Alliance, like everybody's all aboard on this thing, is we're going to make voting cool. We're going to make voting a thing. And we're going to be pushing that message out to everyone as much as possible.
Absolutely. And I just want to share some quick math, and I want to thank Crystal Vasquez from Accessibility for putting it in the chat. CUNY actually has, and let's do this math really quickly, 275,000 students
that are registered to vote.
No. That could register to vote, right?
Okay.
So if each student at CUNY told 2 people to vote, we would have over 800,000 people voting for the interests of what is best for this university, represented by those that are connected and plugged into this institution. You see how quickly, you know, this is the time of memes and hashtags. You know, I grew up in a time when we had we had sayings. So, you know, used to say, if you want to go fast, you go alone, but if you want to go far, you go together. You know what I'm saying? So this is one of those things where we need to have an impact going far reaching. And so we need to go together. So when you get registered to vote as a CUNY student, like Nestor said, you tell someone. You could tell one of your classmates, or you could tell someone, you know, at home, someone you went to high school with. You know what I mean? Because another saying from my day, you know, couple of weeks ago, each one teach one. You know what I mean? So when I learn something, if it's valuable, I can share that information, and it doesn't take anything away from me. It actually helps, especially when we're talking about something like civic engagement. Sharing information is helpful. Why? Because information is power. And what you want to do is bring the power back into your community. Your community obviously is Gutman. Your community is the neighborhood that you grew up in. And the community is your network of friends and family that helped you to get here, and that you are going to connect with and be a part of as you continue this journey. So like I said, it's when you look at those numbers and you do that really simple math, you know, 275, and everybody tells 2 people, you actually get almost 900,000 people, almost 1 million, voting with a purpose, informed. You know, that we want to talk about change. That's change.
I'll tell you what, VP Pryor, with all due respect to my one and only king, Chadwick Boseman, the Black Panther, I think you're in the running for the new Black Panther right now with what you just said.
You know, I'll be honest, no one can replace Chadwick. When you think about what he was going through over the last 4 years, and the fact that two things, he had a team that was strong enough to keep his secrets sacred and inviolable, but also it makes me think about all the people that are showing up with different types of physical, emotional limitations, or things that are heavy or painful that they show up with on a day in and day out basis. You never know what a person is carrying, because you couldn't tell me, you know, now mind you, I went to see that movie in full African regalia, you know, like something from a scene from Coming to America. I had my kufi. Only thing I was missing was the rose bearers, you know, because it was such a powerful image. But when you think about, and I'm going to get emotional just because of what it means to our community, and all my little cousins have the toys and all those other things, because I made sure I went out and purchased them, is how inspirational his story really is, and how passionate he was about his art and about his work, and the fact that through his pain, he showed up every day. And we have people within our community, you know, the folks from our disability community who show up every day and work and represent themselves and their community and their family. It's just a reminder that if you are strong of heart and of mind, and as Dean Blake said, continue to push, that you can accomplish anything. And that no matter what is going on, those things can't stop you.
Yep.
And you become an inspiration for all of those around you.
Absolutely. And so, you know, in the spirit of everything that happened today, you know, Wakanda forever. And, you know, thank you to Dean Blake for showing up and sharing space with Professor Dickinson. But thank you to all our faculty colleagues who showed up here and continue to support us and be part of the discussion. Thank you to our administrative folks who show up and continue to support us, the various offices. But really, more important, and the basis, the foundation for the work that we do, our students. For without them, none of this would matter or be important. And so, you know, for those, you know, there's like 15 of you on the chat. We have a promise that you just heard us make very clear that you know, Gutman got your back. We're here to see you be successful. It is our sincere hope that you achieve the level of success that you want. If you want to graduate, we're going to get you to graduation. You want to get a couple of credits under your belt and then go out into the world and test your skills, we'll get you that too. You want to have a couple of life-changing experiences and experience the world from new perspectives, we got that. And the only thing that we're asking is that you show up in the places with us so that we can do this thing together. And at that point, you know, nothing is impossible. So I gotta say, this has gotta be one of the best State of the Grizz that we've ever done, VP.
You know, it absolutely is. You know, it was chock full of valuable messages. You know, and I think the baseline that was frequently inculcated, you know, I gotta have a word a week, was the value of information and pushing forward, you know, and making those connections. So, you know, as you stole my line, but I'm okay with it, because I like to remind our students that we do have your back. We're here to support you, and as Nestor said, help you to meet your goal. You know, when we welcome you to orientation and you go through and thrive through Bridge, we see you walking across the stage. We see you with a cap and a gown talking about a transfer plan to a four-year institution and how that is going to springboard you to further education. We see that for you, but as Nestor said, we have to see that with you. It can't be our plan. We have to be partners and do much of this together. Our job is to support you, and that's why we're here. And like Nestor said, we got you back.
Yeah, and so there's only one. There's a couple of quick notes I want to leave the students and the community before we say goodbye for the day, because we're past the hour mark, and thank you for your patience. I'm gonna share one more screen. This is an event that we're doing CUNY-wide, and so this is gonna go out to the students shortly. It's a virtual spoken word event, and we're looking for performers, student performers specifically, and so. As you can see, this is a collaboration. Queens, York, Lehman, CSI, Baruch, Hunter, Brooklyn, Bronx, Gutman, CCNY, LaGuardia, and John Jay are looking for our spoken word artists, and we're looking for the theme of uplifting and empowerment. Poetry, song, rap, other creative forms of expression. If this is you, this email is going to be going out to the students shortly. And then you can apply. The deadline is by September 14th. The first event is going to be October 1st. That's going to happen. To our students, many of you received an email from the National Society for Leadership and Success. It is a legitimate email. It is a partnership that Gutman has undertaken with the NSLS to bring you an online digital format leadership curriculum that's going to help you be a better leader, so that when you step onto campus, but also when you live your life, you're able to speak the language of leadership and undertake leadership things.
Right, and further develop the leader within each of you, because everyone leads differently, but everyone has the ability to be a leader.
Amen. The last two things I'm going to say is pay attention to your email, because we're going to be sending out information about weeks of welcome and your first 6 weeks on the college campus. We're going to be highlighting some events that we want you to attend. We're also going to be talking about Campus Fest. It's going to be an opportunity to meet a couple of different offices, clubs, and organizations, and become a part of the fabric, become a part of this Grizzly community that we built here. But more importantly than anything, it's just another opportunity to make a connection with folks who are committed to seeing you be successful. And if nothing else, you should walk away knowing that Gutman is committed to making sure that you are as successful as you want to be in all the things that you want to do. So, VP Pryor, any last words before I sign us out?
Just a couple of quick things. I would be remiss if I didn't mention, given the state of things in the world right now, we will be soliciting student input in the coming weeks about how to not only help get engaged in what's going on and have discourse around what's going on in the outside, but also invite you to have discourse with what's going on at the college and how we can improve your environment. The other thing, I want to take an opportunity to thank students that have shown up here today, and to challenge each of you to invite a friend to State of the Grizz on the 16th, because we will have our new interim president, Dr. Doriston Throne, as a guest, and she is a CUNY graduate. She grew up in the Bronx, a lifelong New Yorker, and someone I really think that y'all would benefit from hearing from. Y'all will, of course, get messages from her over the coming weeks as we move to open school. But I think it'll be a fantastic opportunity for you all to be in this space with your president, because she is a fantastic representative of the university, but more importantly, she is a phenomenal advocate for Gutman. So I hope that each of you will invite at least one person. As we move to close, Nestor, I just want to reiterate to students, we got your back. We're here. We are thankful that you continue to plug in and plug away. But know that as challenges come up, that we are an email or a click or a phone call away from helping you to navigate maybe some difficult things as those things come up. But you got to let us know what's going on, and we'll help and get you plugged in. It's always a great opportunity, something I look forward to in doing State of the Grizz. And like I said, we'll be back in 2 weeks on the 16th with Presidents Enthroned. But more importantly, between now and then, Grizzlies, if you need us, you can reach us. We got your back. It's always a pleasure to be here. And Nestor, thanks again, man. You're a phenomenal co-host.
Hey, thanks. I'm only as good as the company I keep, so I guess it works both ways. Just a quick thought. President, it sounds like a really good idea. We maybe need to invest in some more female presidents around these parts and see what could happen in the world.
Absolutely, absolutely. Dean Blake, that I hear some things. We got to figure it out. Dean,
it would be awesome. Yes.
Absolutely. Dean McMath Turner, where you at? I don't see you on camera. Dean Zemke. Let's talk about some things. Yeah. So
that being said, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Same bat time.
Same bat channel. Thanks a lot, Grizzlies. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.